Good morning. This is podcast number 1 for UF100 Summer 2023. So I'll be narrating this podcast for today. And with the questions from the podcast prompt, we kind of doled out questions to the three of us, and we answered those questions in a document. So what I will be reading will be my classmates' responses. So number 1, you asked, what are the tasks you must complete by the end of the 5 weeks together? Do you know what we are doing and why? Josh answered this with, a simple list would be all 5 weeks of podcasts, the weekly reading or movie discussion, which would be the Elephant Angels for reading for our group, the Sci-Fi Technology Project, which would include a written proposal, Kickstarter draft, low-tech prototype, final Kickstarter, and final prototype. Number 2, we have what are the components of these tasks, and do you have any questions? All questions are valid and important. Josh again had this question, and he answered, with the 5 weeks of podcast, we'll have many questions that need to be answered, and one person will be the main lead that week. The movie or reading discussion will also have a lead, with each group having a different week. Our week is the second and requires us to read the Elephant Angel story. Sci-Fi Technology Project will require many sub-assignments, which all combine to create a final Kickstarter video and prototype. Number 3, during the LEGO Challenge, you were presented with multiple tasks, shifting deadlines and expectations, and some setbacks. In what ways did each of these instances change your group dynamics? And in what ways did your group roles change? How did stress change your group's personalities? In what ways did each group member deal with the challenges you faced? What conclusions did you draw about yourself and one another that made you consider how you will organize your group processes moving forward? How will your roles change, and how will they stay the same? So this was taken by Chris, this question, and he said we could shift tasks to prioritize new ones reasonably well. As a result, we demonstrated this by maintaining communication and taking on different roles, whip, leader, tech, without deliberation, ultimately facilitating easier transitions. I think with this being the first interaction and team exercise, a lot of the stress was reserved or not reflected, or deflected, not to lose the idea that is this was an exercise and working together should be the ultimate outcome. A specific point to highlight is when we just deconstructed to flip the first layer right side up to create a sturdier object. This added a little more stress since we are now redesigning and taking more feedback. Different timelines are added, and we are still looking at how we can all be helpful without getting in the way. It was a beautiful mess, and it gave us insight into how our teammates function in these different roles with arbitrary mini challenges and time constraints. Further, he goes, we could talk to each other and organize our thoughts better in our processes. Maintaining the after-action review is a good tool until we can find a better system to capture weekly outcomes, comments, concerns. This is a significant takeaway because it will provide a reflection period that requires honest feedback, good or bad, and helps maintain perspective on how our teammates learn, lead, and follow. No change to roles. Question number 5, what is your plan for how you will approach each task moving forward? Chris also took this one. He said, understand the work week and what major muscle movements are required. We will communicate via text to lay out responsibilities until it is a unanimous decision on how we piece out the workload. Once is agreed upon, we agree upon a timeline that is backward planned from the day it is due. Depending on the due date of the project, we'll have touch point, Zoom, Google Meet, in-person meetings, where we can do a conditions check on our responsibilities and use that time to knock out a rehearsal of what that pitch or whiteboard presentation may sound like to gain peer feedback. Once complete with the test, we will knock out an AAR, an after-action review. On the last class of the week, where we go over 1 to 3 pros and cons list of any significant event for 20 to 30 minutes. After that is captured, we can go over the way ahead to assign tasks to equal out the weight of any significant excitement due within the next week. Also looking at one touch point, Zoom, Google Meet, or in-person meetings throughout the 3-day break. At least for me, Chris. For a conditions check for the agreed upon responsibilities, there is a caveat. The team must buy in and communicate frequently and honestly. Number 6. What aspects of the Maker Lab help to inform how you might approach your final product? I took this one. And I put that I think that our access to the Maker Lab has actually made our project much more difficult. Class projects for me in the past have been limited to supplies that you go out and buy in the store. Pipe cleaners, styrofoam, cardboard, these kinds of things. With access to these more advanced creative tools, it greatly increases our options and can create indecisiveness as far as what we want to use. Our approach needs to be finding technology to focus on and creating the best product possible. Number 7, what technologies are you and your group considering for your final prototype? I put that we are leaning towards, it was another question for me, that I put that we're kind of leaning towards 3D printer because of its, it's versatile, it's fairly easy to comprehend, and we can make really cool things with it. In talking to my group this morning, however, they also agreed with that, but they also know that we might have to, with our project, use different, a bunch of different things in the lab. We might have to use the sewing machine for part of it. We might need a laser cutter to do some kind of cool stuff. All these different things, but I think initially we're going to be leaning towards 3D printer. To make some of the cool objects as part of our project. And then number 8, what other questions do you have about any aspect of the course moving forward? Josh and Chris put no. I did have a question, or I guess a concern about the project moving forward. I put that I have concerns about the expectations for what we decide to create. How intricate does the final product have to be? How much assistance can the Maker Lab workers provide in making our vision a reality? I want to focus on making the best project possible within reason. And so I guess I just have more questions on expectations, which I will talk with you, Professor, about when I get the chance. All right. Have a good day. Bye.